is 10 o'clock, and I like to start right on the dot. So we're going to dive in. Today's conversation is about unpacking the home showing process. And Tony Baldini is going to be nice enough to feature his amazing giant listing in Oviedo. It is a 6 bedroom, 5 bathroom home, 2330 Kelbrook Court. And the reason why I want to talk to you guys about this today was because something came across our inbox that I've not ever seen. I've only been in the real estate industry with you guys for about the past 5 years, but this was one of the listing agents had reached out to Justin for feedback on from his buyers on a house that he had just recently shown, and her outreach included her begging, essentially begging him to make an offer because she wants to work with him, a seasoned veteran agent who knew what he was doing. Because in luxury homes, it's common for the listing agent to be present just to keep eyes and ears on the home. And so this listing agent got to see buyers agents come in and out and show the home. And the one specific agent who had put the offer in was so new and so green in the industry and demonstrated that through the open house, or not the open house, but through the showing process, that the listing agent was like, I don't want to work with this person. They have no idea what they're doing. And what gave it away was while showing the home, mind you, this is a luxury home. So luxury homes tend to have lots of cool things that you can show. But this listing agent was in the kitchen and stopped by the sink and says, here is the sink. This is where you can wash things. And when you are in a over $1 million home, there's got to be something else you can say about it. And so that just like that little tiny like thing that they might not have considered spoke volumes about their abilities in the real estate field. And I don't want that to happen to you. So that's why I chose this topic for today's mock appointments. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit ahead of time about what to do before, during, and after a showing. And then he's going to give us the example, and then I'm going to have some of our newer agents role play and talk me through one of the amazing rooms in Tony's. So, my first question that I have for you guys, and actually, I'll take a little pressure off you there, Tony, and unpin you. So, first question I'm going to ask to, hey, Steph Nelson, I see you on the call. You tell me what you do to prepare for a showing.
First thing is obviously going onto the MLS. So I'm printing off the synopsis from the MLS. I've gone through all of the pictures. So I want to make sure that I have a good idea of the home that either I have recommended and sent to them that would work for them, or that they have sent to me. I don't want them to know more about the house than I do. Print off any disclosures or anything like that and bring it with me to the showing. Depending on how many showings we've got and if, price point and things like that, I may even call the listing agent to find out, is there anything that I need to know about the house before I show it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's exactly what I was hoping you'd say because I already had the broker synopsis pulled up. So I think I got it right. The broker synopsis is this piece of information that you can find in Stellar MLS about your listings. When you hit print button, it prints it in a PDF. There are always two options. You can print the broker synopsis or the customer synopsis. So by looking at this one, an experienced agent, what can you tell me? How can you tell that this is the customer and not the broker? What's the dead giveaway?
Justin doesn't need to look at himself. Um, it has his picture on it.
Correct. Correct. It has his picture on it. So that is the one you want to hand to your client. The other one that is available to print is the broker synopsis. It does not have the picture on it. Why would I not want to give it to my client?
As the listing agent's information on it.
Very good. We do not want our buyers reaching out to the listing agents on their own. That's our job. So this is a interesting piece. Again, it's little things that you might not know if you're one new, two stressed. Like it's just the little things. So we want to go over them. So we talked about the disclosures, printing out the disclosures, going to printing out your synopsis. Um, the other thing I wanted to ask was the disclosures. Where can you find those? Say I'm in MLS.
little paper clip at the top.
A little paper clip at the top right here to attachments, and there are all our disclosures. Awesome. Thanks so much, Steph.
Anytime.
Okay.
That's a good agent. Are they attached? Sometimes they're not very.
Now, that's actually a great question. So Cheryl and Lori, I would love for you guys to answer this one. When you're dealing with buyer's agents, what are their best practices for interacting with the listing agent before, during, after a showing? What should a buyer do with the listing agent before, during, and after?
Um, you may have questions that you want to call before. Everybody's different. Some are better than others. I mean, I just had one where I was trying to show 9 homes in a day, and it would say, use showing time button, and I would use it, and then it would say, no, no, nothing. And it'd be like a gated community. So a lot of times, and I found, I don't know about you, Cheryl, but sometimes texting them is better. Sometimes they don't answer the phone. Just asking a lot of questions because you don't want to get there and not know how to get in. You know, asking, is it Sentry Lock or is it, a combo? So you have all that information before. Um, Oftentimes, you know, yes, during if I have a question that's really relevant, or you get there and a door was unlocked. I've had that happen. Um, so I want to call them right away so they know I'm locking it, but it was unlocked. It wasn't me that left it unlocked. Just little crazy things. And then after, always give feedback. I just I try to be so courteous with feedback. It it's just not fair to the listing agent to not give them something because their sellers are going to ask, and you may have to, work with them. So, yeah, you might not be able to do it right then. You're showing 9 homes, and sometimes they'll call you, and you might just have to not answer. But when you get that email, give feedback, and also, try to be courteous. I mean, I've had people write, "This home has nothing to offer." Try to be, you know, um, courteous but honest, so they can pass something on to their sellers.
Uh, you don't want to overwhelm the listing agents with calling them constantly. That can be super annoying. And every agent's different. Uh, I agree, probably texting, because a lot of times I can answer a question very quickly texting if I'm on a phone call or I'm out showing. So that's helpful. Um, and as far as questions, I like to put them in writing. So after showing, make sure you have them all in and then email the agent, say, hey, we really like the house. The buyer really liked the house. We just had a few follow-up questions. But don't be the one that calls and asks the question, how old's the roof? When literally in the description it says brand new roof 2026. So, what I like to do before showing is take the broker synopsis and I highlight the important items on it, how long it's been on the market, age of the main components, the roof, electrical, plumbing, and water heater. And then if that's not detailed in seller disclosures, I make sure to take a picture or look at those items. So even today, I showed a house I showed a house in Jacksonville the other day. Did you guys know you can show in Jacksonville in South Florida? Because I've done all that this week. But I take photos of the AC and the water heater because then you can go run the serial numbers. If nobody knows the age, that's one way to look it up. Or you can check permits. They're not always permitted because I had a seller yesterday in Oviedo telling me, yeah, I put the water heater in last year. I said, oh, did you get a permit? And he goes, no, I just did it myself. Okay. So if I looked it up as a buyer's agent on permit, it's not going to show up, but it is a new water heater and you can still buy the house with a new water heater, even without a permit. So the main components of the house. So don't feel like you're Vanna White showing a house is all I'll say before we move forward on just showing a house. You don't have to say, look, this is a kitchen where you can enjoy dining. I mean, you're not Vanna White. You're trying to be the person that's a little, to me, is above that, right? You're looking, and I even tell people, I'm like, while you're looking at the layout of how your furniture is going to fit, I'm looking at the components of the house. I'm looking for water leaks. So if you see me looking at other things, that's what I'm doing. I want you to enjoy seeing if you can live in the house, right? So I don't have to tell them this is a great bedroom. At least
That's
that's how
awesome. That also kind of poses you as that homeowning expert that I want to look at our agents and see. Like they want to look to you and know that you're looking at everything that can affect your property value, whether it's the tree or the thing. And by saying you look at the house, I'm looking for the nitty gritty. That in and of itself is a very small way that elevates you as an expert in the subject matter. And so I think that's a very little thing that you can do that speaks a very big volume. Thanks. We'll take a copy for a little bit. Okay, so now we've talked about mapping. We're looking at disclosures. We're looking for what's being told to us and what's not being told to us. So now we have our hit list before we go into the house of what we're looking for as realtors. We research the property. We know how to go on to MLS and get printouts for us and our clients. We're calling ahead to ask questions about access, and then we're going to get feedback when we're done. So we're at the home now. So we're getting to the home. This is the home that we're going to be at today. Tony's listing. It's big. It's beautiful. Now, what I want to ask to my seasoned agents is how do you balance giving space for your clients to explore and asking questions to engage them on the things that they're looking for? Because if this is your first showing, you might not know yet what's the deal breaker for this family or this buyer. So how do you figure that out throughout the showing by also giving them space to kind of what they want to see?
I
Feel
just
like
went
Cheryl had a good example where she's saying, I'm looking for this, you look at other stuff, but that's what I'm doing. So that's creating some space. But what questions do you ask to suss out what's important to them? Sorry.
I went through my first showing, and I found success with the buyers that I'm working with, where I was essentially like I prefaced it with while you go through the house, think about the things that you really like, and then think of one thing that you don't like. And then I'm kind of looking at the house as a buyer as well, just kind of doing my own thing. And if we're in the same room, I'm like, oh wow, this is awesome, or I don't know if I like that, and it creates like a like essentially like it's not awkward, like you're it's very like nonchalant, and then at the very end we'll just like come to the front of the front of the house wherever the front door is and do a little powwow, and I was like, okay, on a scale of 1 to 5, what do you guys think? And if it's like a like the buyer I'm dealing with, it's the mom, dad, and then 2 older children. And so, everybody gets to rate, and it kind of becomes like this game, and it's like, okay, so we're gonna average out here, and dad, and then I make a joke because dad's always thinking the house is great because it has potential because he could fix everything. So I'm like, all right, dad's got his own rating, and so everybody kind of laughs about that. So it's just kind of creating that like, okay, now I know what like each family member is kinda looking at, what they're all but we know exactly I can kinda pin down like, okay, they want, regular size rooms, the rooms can't be smaller, the kitchen is important, the wife doesn't want a fixer-upper, the husband does, but the wife doesn't, so I know that's gonna be like I know what homes I'm trying to put them in.
Very good. I like that. Thank you.
I
And
think also, Jess, I was just
go
going to
ahead.
say, trying to give them space, but keep them close. You don't want one in the back bedroom and one in the garage. And, even though I'm looking at things like especially if you don't know them, because the last week when I had this person, I'd never met them until we got to the house. So trying to, ask questions like, well, what do you think of the cabinets? Because I learned quickly that she was modern and she did not even want to consider anything that wasn't white cabinets or, asking if the space is big enough. But I think it is a balance by trying to keep them close, but giving them their space.
And then say to them, think out loud. I know what you like and don't like. That's a really good one too. Encourage the buyers to think out loud while they're shopping. And then actually, when I was drafting the questions for this, my next question was, what do you do when clients bring children, friends, or family members? And I was kind of thinking about the showing that we recently had for one of Justin's buyers, where dad was driving up from Tampa, and dad's hit list of critiques and things that he wanted to look at was very critical. Everything dad had was better.
Yes, I didn't meet Whitney's dad, but the listing agent was talking about she did and how the things that were important to him weren't really important to the buyers at all once they got here. But yeah.
And dads have an opinion on everything. And so that's so funny that Santiago had a very similar experience with a dad where dad has an opinion on everything. So veteran agents, anybody that can speak to that, have you had a situation where dad comes ways and might make you think that this wholesale is falling apart, but really what the buyer is looking for is not necessarily what dad's looking for, you know? I feel like this happens.
Well, I just had one recently that was interesting that I'd never had happen where a adult daughter was helping her mom buy a house, so they were on mortgage together. And I said and the dad never came to the showing. Um and I said something about her husband, and the daughter said, "Well, they're not married. They're not married." So then I wasn't sure who was related to who. So we went under contract on a house. The dad had not seen it. The dad came to inspection and didn't like the house, and we canceled the contract
Oh
because the dad
no.
the house. So even though the dad's not on the contract, so I guess in that instance, and I've been doing this a long time, so that kind of came as a surprise to me even. You need to know who the decision makers are, even if they're not on the contract. So if it's dad of adult children that have a say in their life, sometimes that can impact the outcome of the just because they have a say so. So know who the decision makers are.
I had the exact same thing happen where dad was giving $100,000 payment, and I didn't find out until inspections. And there, I asked if dad could join us for showings, and he was happy to do so. He wanted to. The buyer was more wanting to be independent, but when dad's paying $100,000, we have to bring dad along. So he was involved in, we've then went under contract with a house that they loved. Yes, knowing who the decision maker and contributors are is super important.
Excellent. You guys. So Tony, if you are ready, I would like to pretend to be your buyer and I would like to see your home.
Awesome. Yep. Sounds good. To start, something that I've learned here actually from Jeremy, he gave me the statistic that a third of buyers like to start outside because they want to know what the community, how the exterior and the curb appeal looks like. I've seen some agents or people just start right at the front door and welcome people in where you're missing a lot here. So, to Jess's point, let's start outside first. What I always like to do is just a look through this neighborhood, especially this one that we're at now. This is a fun listing for me. We just did a price reduction down to 975, but what I'm getting at is you can see the community and neighborhood a little bit more upscale, gated community up front as well. So always do a quick kind of spin around the community. Ask your clients how they feel about coming home to this every day. Now we're ready to start the showing. What I wanted to pop over on the side to be able to show is I actually have the lockbox on the water spigot over here on the right hand side. This is a luxury property, and I just didn't love the look of the lockbox right on the front door. I do have it on Sentry Lock that says it's on the right hand side water spigot. But just for you new agents, if you get to the property and you're walking up and you say, "Uh oh, I don't see it on the front door," do a quick glance on both of the sides of the property. A lot of times, water spigots are where people like to put them. So, without further ado, let's get in. Once you kind of done the driveway talk, let's get inside here. Something that I wanted to showcase. I've already kind of been in here, but what you can kind of see is I've got some lights on, some lights not on, and I've got some blinds open, some blinds not open. So this is obviously the dining room. You can see here the home's vacant, so I keep all the blinds closed. But when I get in, I like to come in and open up the blinds. I don't even have these lights on, but you can just see the difference that it makes from opening up some windows, opening up some blinds. So, highly encourage you guys to get in here early. Just open up some windows, bring some natural light into the house itself. So that's first key. And then when you're walking through, flip on some lights, get situated with the house itself so you can kind of be the professional. Sometimes you're going to get here early, sometimes you're going to be walking in for the first time with them. So what I like to do is kind of run in front of my clients, turn on all the lights, get everything opened up so that I've got a good understanding for kind of the layout. So now that we're through the house, your clients are here at the start. Like we kind of been talking about, you don't want to follow them around. Hey, here's the formal dining room. We kind of know about that. What I would say is you want to try to help them visualize what they're trying to accomplish. So, for instance, it's a very unique property here. So, forgive me. This is one room, and then we've got a second room here as well. So what this could definitely be is like an at-home office space as well. So I always like to try to ask my clients some of the questions. What are you thinking for this space? Could this be an at-home office? And this is when we can dive into what do you do for work if this is the first time you've met them? Maybe they're like, this is a perfect at-home gym. I've heard that as an idea. Sure, whatever you want to make it, but just like kind of starting the questions out for them. Then for me, with this being such a big house, I don't think I'm going to go into every single bedroom with them, but you do want to be around so that you can hear the conversation and you can talk through things. To be able to share this home built in 2012, it's original. So even though it's a nice house in terms of size, I don't have much talking points outside of the pool out back that we can get to. But what I'm getting at is I want to see how my clients feel about the space. So this is the downstairs master bedroom. You don't want to find yourself getting caught bumping into your clients here in a semi-tight bathroom here. So what I like to do is kind of and there's different practices, but I'll at least enter this room, but I'll stay way to a corner. And that way we can just kind of hear what they're saying. I can be available if they have any questions. Hey Tony, what is this? Down here off to the side, we've got a really nice walk-in closet. If my clients are like, I like that, I'm taking a note on my paper to say, hey, it seems like they're really interested in that. Maybe they make comments, this bedroom is too small, too big. I want to be around to hear those things. But to the point here, I'm not showing the kitchen and saying this is where you wash dishes off. But if there is anything to highlight in the kitchen, I definitely want to. So this comes back to reading the description, understanding if we have new KitchenAid appliances in there or if these are original. So if there is anything of value, I like to at least call it out, but not in a just like a matter of fact, hey, did you see this? Or just so you know, this is granite stone countertops, which is nicer than Formica. So I try to not be so obvious on like a sink is a sink, but understanding or asking, hey, do you guys really like this stone? To be able to highlight some level of value here. And then to further go, here's another bedroom. We've got a ton in this house. So this is just a square. I'm not following them in to see what they think of that bedroom. So really key to kind of just I almost try to stay in a central location almost for the house where I'm still in earshot away from them if they have a question or if they're just talking, but not on top of them. You definitely want them to feel comfortable, see them in the house itself as well. So now what you want to try to identify is what is the major feature of the home itself. I would say here for this particular property, it's size because it's over 5,000 square feet, and then its backyard as well. So really huge kind of Olympic pool out here where I'm highlighting this or I'm talking through to know if my buyer sees this as value or not, because this is a pretty big pool. This is what a lot of this house has to do with it. Me being the listing agent here, I know that this is a very unique area here. So I'm asking questions like, what do you guys think of this space? Where can you see yourself entertaining out here? Do you spend a lot of time entertaining? Where now we're talking about them inside of the house as compared to the roof is 2012 or whatever. Let's start asking questions that talk about kind of their lifestyle in the home as compared to the countertops again. So a little bit of both, where you're highlighting the features and the qualities and the upgrades, but then you're also asking questions like, can you see your family out here on the weekend and stuff like, questions of that sort. How am I doing? I'm just rambling, so I hope you guys are all
Oh,
good.
yeah, you're doing a really great job. You actually like I had follow-up questions about like what kind of language you can use to shift from highlighting a feature to really helping the buyer envision the home. And I didn't even have to ask it. You just told it. So you're doing a great job, Tony. Thank you. Also, this
Okay,
home looks
awesome.
amazing. Do you have any open
Yes.
houses coming up for this property?
I would love for anybody. I've hosted two here. I'd love for anybody else to host any if they'd like as well. So it's obviously a big vacant house.
It's
So
vacant. So,
to
as a newer agent, what does a vacant house mean for an open?
It usually just means the availability to host one, as compared to like a seller living in it and not having the ability to do so. This is vacant and he's ready to go.
Awesome. So we have a lot of new agents on the call today. So you guys know how much we've been pushing open houses lately. This is a great one to do it in. Plenty of space to host a lot of people in it. And it also seems like a great neighborhood to generate like traction and meet the neighbors and do all of that kind of stuff. So that's awesome. One thing I wanted to ask you, Tony, while you are showing us is what advice would you give to agents who are still developing their own showing style?
I would love to come prepared. I always did as a first, or still do now. But I would say prepared with the MLS, kind of like what Stephanie was talking about, the MLS, the attachments, any sort of realtor remarks. As a first starting agent, I would do my homework and make sure I knew that this is built in 2012, that this is a 5,000 square foot home. So that way, when I'm walking through, I can be the professional and I can be the one that knows the numbers or knows the information. That gave me a lot more confidence as compared to just coming in kind of blind. So I would say a lot of it is in the preparation first. And then when you're at the house, a lot of it for me is organic. I don't know what they're going to say about this room until we're in there kind of talking through it. This is a perfect we can get in there, but it's a perfect like movie theater room. But maybe my client says that's a perfect office. You know, what do I care? But it's until we start getting into the house and talking about it, I don't want to have like scripted questions per se because I want it to flow naturally, and we'll see what questions they have or what comes up. But it's important to be prepared before you go.
Is there a
So
suite bathroom nearby we can check out?
not necessarily a suite bathroom. But I can obviously can show you. So big house. So it's pretty much a house on top of a house. We're obviously on the second floor now. So what I would do, this is a huge balcony, like a loft area. I would stay back. I'm all the way in the corner here. You never want to be more so in the middle of the room. But what I'm like is, and you don't see this too often. I'm almost overly, wow, look at this space. This is, what would you do with this? How could you fill this space? So questions like that. Over here is just the movie theater room. And you guys can kind of see it's just a big square. What's that?
There's a movie theater room.
Movie theater room. So just a big square. But if this wanted to be somebody's office, I'm fine with that too. But yeah, it could be a great movie theater room is another good another good kind of thought. Let me go to the other upstairs master bedroom here. And then you'll see it's very similar to the downstairs bathroom. So with this house, once again, it's we're just big in terms of square footage. So I'm not catching myself walking in here. We've already kind of come through and toured. So to give relation again, I'm almost standing back here and then listening for them to be like, wow, look at that closet or something to that effect, where I don't need to go in unless they ask me to, or and let, hey, check out under the sink plumbing, or what's this grout issue, so you do want to be available or be around, but obviously not bumping into them or anything like that. That is the bathroom, so don't be all over them. But yes, being around, taking notes where um what's the right way to being present, I think, is the best way that I can put it, where we're on a showing, you're taking notes, listening to them, asking them questions. I think all of that is key, as compared to, I know other agents kind of just open the door and maybe sit down at the table and say, go look around. I've kind of taken the hybrid approach of not following them into the bathroom, but standing close enough by that I'm here to answer any questions, or be present for them. So that's what I found a great experience in. So okay, so we've kind of walked through the whole house. It's a big house. I always like to come back to like some level of central location and do another talk through. What I would say is to be very careful. I know we heard somebody does it at the front door. On this house, we don't have a ring camera, but I would say 80% of the time, these homes have some level of security, especially at a luxury home of this caliber. So you just want to be very cautious to what you're saying right at the front door. But in the same breath, as a listing agent, I love when people talk right outside. And I've had my sellers send me videos before. So just being very smart and cautious, but also don't let it discourage you from having a conversation with your client, because that's key. Where it's only bad if people are you're like talking about we're going to submit a lowball offer or something to them, as compared to learning more about your client and finding out new information that I don't care if the seller hears that. I need to get this information for my client. So, I would say don't let it shut down any conversations. The only conversations are if we're submitting an offer and we're gonna come in 100,000 less, then maybe let's not let the ring camera pick that up. But to finalize some level of the showing after we're done. So what did you think? What are your thoughts? And obviously when we're walking through, I'm getting a feeling for what their thoughts are, but I think it's big for them to also hear themselves say it and to be able to, like, if they say they don't like something, why didn't you like this? Or for what reason? And I try to ask those next, another step level questions here because that is really helpful. Because I found in my career that people will send you 10 listings. Hey, Tony, we want to go see all 10. And it's like, oh, yikes. I've been in this situation. We are only in the house for 1 minute and they're like, let's get out. And so I want to alleviate a lot of that where instead of 10 showings, maybe let's go on your top three because we can exclude a lot of other homes. So while we're at these showings, I try to get really clear or more clear with my clients on what they like and don't like so that we can save ourselves from many multiple showings and only doing the homes that we think are the right true fit. What else? So afterwards, really key that you shut down everything, especially for a vacant home, and really key that you double check all of your locks. It's your responsibility with this being on a Sentry lock. I got your information. I know what time you're in there, so heaven forbid something happened. But I would just say I've been caught up. My client wants to submit a full list price offer, and it's like, oh, I left the back door open or whatever it is. So just being really careful. Obviously, the door is more important maybe than some of the lights, but I always try to run through, just turn everything off. The rule or what was taught to me is the way that you entered the property is also the way that you left it. So in some cases, they have the lights on, music on, and maybe they're having a ton of showings that day. So in that case, you can just leave it. Um, but in my opinion, always kind of reset it back to the way you found it.
Great advice.
Um,
Thank you so much.
okay, awesome.
If you
Yeah.
want to point me
What else?
at
What
the
else could I tell?
I was like, if you want to point the camera at the kitchen, I want to see if I can get a couple of our new agents to take a stab at showing me the features of this amazing kitchen. So Santiago, you're one of our bravest new agents. I'm going to pick on you for a little bit and ask you if you feel brave. So Santiago, will you take your mic off and show me this kitchen?
Sure.
Let's
So,
go.
um, so coming into this home, what I would say is my favorite part about this kitchen is got to be the amount of cabinets that you have, the space to that you put everything away. That is something that a lot of homes don't have. It's something that I would say is unique to this home. Another thing that I would say is a really great feature about this home is the built-in oven microwave combo, which is really nice. Um,
It does save a lot of counter space. I like that.
it does, and it doesn't like right now. What's on the rage is like the overhead like microwave over the stove, and for me, I think it's kind of a little ugly to have that. But so I could appreciate like that combo for sure. That is something that I would go with in my own home. And another thing that is great about this kitchen is obviously like the open layout. It looks to me like hosting here. I would really enjoy it. I'd be able to comfortably like finish if I was like still having to prep something. I'd feel comfortable having somebody just sit on this island, watch. It kind of makes me feel like I'm on like Food Network. So it'd be something, yeah, that'd be something really that's really fun to do. So yeah, and I love the fact that you almost have like an industrial overhead like stove for like any fumes. So if you're frying anything or anything like that, it's like actually leaving the house, which is really nice. So yeah, I'd say that this home, the lighting, everything about it is with this kitchen is great. So
That's so
that's my
thank
sales
you for
pitch.
being I love it. I like that you highlighted features the way that helps me envision living in the home. And that's kind of what Tony had talked about, what we're going for. We're not just talking about a high feature we can talk about the upgraded appliances, but we're also talking about it in a way that helps me envision living there. Like counter spaces are cleaner, it's more aesthetically pleasing. It's a great place to host a lot of people. So that kind of language, they're little things. You're not just saying here's a sink. It has a pull down faucet. It here is the overhead. It is brand new. Like you're actually talking about like cooking there, cleaning there, feeling like you're on a like chef network. Like now I'm starting to really get a vision of my large family that is coming over and all of our friends and game nights. And now I'm starting to make plans in this house. And now as a buyer, I'm like, ooh, this one's going to the top of my list very, very quickly now that we're talking about all these things. So good job, Santiago. Amanda, do you want to take a stab at it in the dining room?
Sure.
Thanks
I had
for
some critiques real quick though before we do for Santiago, just real quick. What I would say is I heard a lot of like I like or I enjoy cooking and stuff like that. And obviously I want you to be personable and be your own self, but I prefer you to ask questions. Hey, do you guys like to cook? Do you guys like entertaining? I know you made the comment that you don't love the microwave wherever it is, microwave over the stove. What do you guys think? So making sure asking more questions, and sometimes people will ask for your opinion, and then from there I can say like, oh, I love cooking, so this would be a great countertop. But just not assuming that everybody also likes cooking and needs all of this countertop space. I've got a funny story for you. I was in another luxury listing. The island, 1.5 times the size, I swear, is the largest island I ever saw. And sarcastic comment like, "Hey, you guys think this is big enough for you?" And they clapped back and said, "We actually have two islands that are this size, so we're actually going to be losing room." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I was shocked. So just all of that to say, you don't know the buyer's situation, you don't know what they like, what they don't like. So more so on the questions to them about how they're feeling. Sorry, Amanda, you can take it now.
No, that's okay. Thank
But
you.
I swear, if you like this dining room, I don't want to hear it. I want to hear what they like.
All right, show
Um,
me the dining room, Amanda.
okay. So this is right when we walk in. So I would just point out that it's a great open area right when you walk in the house. I would point out the convenience of having those cabinets right there too for some storage right by the dining room. Um, I would ask if they like if it's separated from the kitchen or if they would prefer a dining room that's kind of connected and more open to the kitchen living space, and maybe just ask their opinion on how they feel about it.
Very good.
Yep. Very good. Yep. So I
Uh,
like that. So, as much as you can find out here, kind of not that you need a question in every room, but you need some level of what do you think? How does this make you feel? Can you see yourself here? I think
Yeah.
are my kind of, and you just run with variances of this,
Mhm.
variants of those questions.
I love that. You guys are so brave, and I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much for trying and getting out there. And so I know it kept you for like 45 minutes at this point, so I want to be cognizant of your time. Thank you so much, Tony, for sharing this listing. Like I said, it's 2330 Kelbrook Court. I'm going to throw that address in the chat so that way you guys can start showing it to your people out in Oviedo who are looking for a big home, and also connect with Tony about scheduling an open house.
Hey, Jess, can I just say something to the women that are on here? I know Tony was talking about showing the property and maybe not walking in the room. As women, we have to be very cautious, safety wise, when we're showing houses to people we do not know. Um, if you get a vibe and you're uncomfortable with that, call one of the guys on the team and see if they'll accompany you for the first showing. If maybe you just don't know the people, or I mean, it's not always necessary, but what I like to do, is not be the first one in a room. So, like, I would never walk into the bathroom where somebody could just shut the door. I don't wanna scare you because it's never happened to me, but it's just something to always be cautious about. So, at open houses, you're gonna have all the doors unlocked, so there's always a place of escape. Um, just I want you to think about that, when you're showing, not to scare you, but just to be smart. Um, I know my husband, when I first started real estate, was very uneasy with those. And even today, sometimes we'll do this where I'll put him on the phone where he can hear everything that's being said as I'm walking, or I'll have the phone up when they walk up and I'll say, just hold on. I said, sorry, I was talking to so and so. I'll hang up in just a minute. Let me let us in. So at least they know there's another person that knows that where I am. And I think it's on showing time. There is a safety alert that you can put on that if you don't click it off, it will send a notification of where you are and an alarm to whoever you put in as your safety. I've accidentally not turned it off, and Randy will call me and say, are you okay? And I'm like, what do you mean? He'll like, I just got a safety alert. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fine. Sorry. But there are things like that. So just be cautious about that when you're showing property.
That is a really good point. Thank you so much for sharing that. The last thing I wanted to add for today is I wanted to kick it to Matt with Prime Mortgage. He's been working on some infographics for like our newer agents to kind of help them understand that not all buyers are at the same stage, and not all of them are. There's a difference between a hot lead and a warm lead and a cold one, and they might not always be forthright with you about where they're at in the process. But there's some ways that you can kind of figure out and help guide them because not everyone realizes that. I think Stephanie Nelson actually put it one of the best ways. She doesn't want people going around falling in love with houses and then getting pre-approved for something way under than the house they fell in love with. So being cognizant and educating the buyer and kind of being that expert and letting them know, like getting a pre-approval if you're doing financing is important of the shopping process because it helps us focus on what we can afford. And so I just wanted Matt to come and tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you, Jess. We've been working on a couple of questionnaires that all agents can use, but obviously, I think the more less seasoned, I should say, agents may actually find them really, really helpful. Now, one of them is geared for you, realtor, to be asking about your buyer's pre-qualification, right? So that you can get an understanding of how well they're qualified, or even if they've been qualified, so that you can. It's kind of a checklist. There's about 10 questions that you would ask to kind of get an idea as to how well qualified they are, and there's kind of like if they answer all these questions, green light, yellow light, maybe you need to ask more question. And then if some of these questions are answered this way, you need to stop, that sort of thing. And so we're going to be rolling that out here pretty soon, hopefully today. Got a couple of little edits we want to make on it. But then the other questionnaire we're producing is going to be for you, a lender for whether you have a buyer and you want to find out how well they're qualified because they've already been pre-qualified, or if you're on the listing side and you've just received an offer and how to call that lender and the proper questions to ask. And we've really tried to make it so that it's going to sound like you're very informed and using almost terms that we on the mortgage side use. So when you're talking to the lender, you're going to sound like you know what you're talking about. Stuff like, have they been pre-approved, and if so, have you run them through an AUS system? Are they doing, Fannie or Freddie? What was the? Did you get an approve eligible? Like stuff like that, where this lender's going to kind of know what you're talking about and maybe not brush you off. And so we're kind of putting together these two separate questionnaires. One, like I said, geared that you would be asking the buyer, and then another one geared where you would be asking that buyer's agent, or I'm sorry, the buyer's lender, to get an idea of how well qualified they are so that you don't run into issues down the road with, oh, y'all didn't have any sort of conversation about flood insurance or whatever it is. And so it'll give you a little bit. And like I said, this is for all agents, to use, and you can almost look at it, you more seasoned agents can look at it almost as a refresher. But then some of the newer ones, you literally can call them up and go down this list and check boxes. We've made it that easy for you guys. But both of those should be rolled out in the next couple of days. And I talked to Stephanie Nelson this morning, and she said one of those she's going to include in like a listing packet that she has. So to make it a little bit easier for her as well. So, anyways, these are. I will say, as with anything that we roll out to you guys, they're almost living documents. So if you see something on there that you think needs to be tweaked or something like that, like this doesn't make sense, based on what we do, by all means, we're always open to feedback, and we can make these edits fairly quickly. But like I said, we should have something rolled out to you in the next day or so.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. I'm excited to get that out for everyone. And then for those of you who are not super local and can't pop into the office, don't worry. We'll include those infographics and the questionnaires as attachments to this when we post it in school. So we'll have everything accessible to everyone in our community as we're growing together. Speaking of growing, we've got a shout on the team. I don't know if you can see the little faces. Getting all excited in the box of it, but we just some announcements that we've got a baby Turner in the house. So if you talk to Garrett anytime soon, wish him congratulations because his baby girl is born today. It's a girl, right? Or is this one the boy? This one's the boy. We had another girl born today too. So we have a little Miss Eaton and a little Mr. Turner being born today. So we're all very excited. The core group is growing and more ways than one. So we're excited for our new agents, excited for our new babies. And with that, I'm going to let you guys go and have a great rest of your week and go slay your day.